Okay, so basically I'm like really excited because I have got some new books. Do you want to see them? Yeah, I thought you would. So you know me, I really love my sort of like earlier medieval, like Anglo-Saxon era sort of like old English poetry and stuff like that. So I've got Seamus Heaney's Beowulf, which I have actually read. This it's actually my favourite translation of Beowulf, and it's actually it's really pretty, I think, and it's got one of my favourite introductions to like any poem ever. So yeah, I'll read you a little bit of the introduction, but I'll also read you some of the poem, obviously. I'm going to read you a bit of the introduction first. It's just a random, I just picked a random passage. Nevertheless, the dream element and overall power to haunt come at a certain readerly price. The poem abounds in passages that will leave an unprepared audience bewildered. Just when the narrative seems ready to take another step ahead, it sidesteps. For a moment, it is as if we have been channeled surfed into another poem, and at 2 points in this translation I indicate that we are in fact participating in a poem within our poem, not only by the use of italics, but by a slight quickening of pace and shortening of metrical reign. The passages comprise lines 883 to 914 and 1070 to 1158. Sorry, it's like written a bit confusing, like. And on each occasion a minstrel has begun to chant a poem as part of the celebration of Beowulf's achievements. In the former case, the minstrel expresses his praise by telling the story of Siegmund's victory over a dragon, which both parallels Beowulf's triumph over Grendel and prefigures his fatal encounter with the worm in his old age. In the latter, the most famous of what were once called the digressions in the poem, the one dealing with the fight between the Danes and Frisians at the stronghold of Finn, the Frisian king, the song the minstrel sings has a less obvious bearing on the immediate situation of the hero, but its import is nevertheless central to both the historical and imaginative worlds of the poem. Right, so I was going to do the passage, like the lines that were mentioned in that earlier paragraph from the introduction. So yeah, 883 to 914, let's go. After his death, Siegmund's glory grew and grew because of his courage when he killed the dragon, the guardian of the horde. Under Greystone he had dared to enter, all by himself, to face the worst, without Fitilla. But it came to pass that his sword plunged right through those radiant scales and drove into the wall. The dragon died of it. His daring had given him total possession of the treasure hoard, his to dispose of however he liked. He loaded a boat. Whale's sons awaited our hold with dazzling spoils. The hot dragon melted. Siegmund's name was known everywhere. He was utterly valiant and venturesome, a fence around his fighters, and flourished therefore. After King Hermod's prowess declined, and his campaign slowed down, the king was betrayed, ambushed in Jutland, overpowered and done away with. The waves of his grief had beaten him down, made him a burden, a source of anxiety to his own nobles. That expedition was often condemned in those earlier times by experienced men who relied on his lordship for redress, who presumed that the part of a prince was to thrive on his father's throne and defend the nation, the shielding land where they lived and belonged, its holdings and strongholds. Such was Beowulf, in the affection of his friends and of everyone alive. But evil entered into Hermod. That's the end of that little bit. So I'll show you the next book, I reckon. So we've got the Ecclesiastical History of the English People, and that's Bede. So that's obviously like a classic. Like you don't really get more classic than that. It's from AD 731. I'll just start by reading you the little blurb, shall I? The Ecclesiastical History of the English People, AD 731, is Bede's most famous work. A scholarly monk working in the northeast of England, Bede wrote the 5 books of the history in Latin. Starting with the invasion of Julius Caesar in the 1st century BC, he recorded the history of the English up to his own day, described in particular detail their conversion and the spread of Christianity. This edition proves not only the authoritative Palgrave translation of the Ecclesiastical History, but also a new translation of the Greater Chronicle, in which Bede examines the Roman Empire in contemporary Europe. His letter to Egbert gives his final reflections on the English Church just before his death, and all 3 texts are further illuminated by a detailed introduction and explanatory notes. actually not read this one. I'll be completely honest with you. I keep meaning to. I'm reading a fascinating book at the minute that references Bede a lot. I'll show you that one in a bit, obviously. But yeah, so I guess I'll just read a random bit, shall I? Yeah, let's do that. Well, this bit's folded over somehow, so we'll read the start of chapter 6, shall we? With such a man as a bishop to instruct them, King Oswald together. That's actually a funny coincidence, because in the book I'm just reading at the minute, they've just been talking about, I'm going to assume it's the same Oswald, he was King of Bernicia in he's somewhere in Northumbria, I'm pretty sure. Oh, I don't know. I'm pretty sure that was it. And do you know what, I'm just going to read. I'm going off on a tangent. I am. I'm sorry. I'm going off. Do you know what? I'm actually getting a little bit hot in here, so I might just. Yeah, I might just take this off. That's better. Right. So let's go. With such a man as bishop to instruct them, King Oswald, together with the people over which he ruled, learned to hope for those heavenly realms which were unknown to their forefathers, and also Oswald gained from the one God who made heaven and earth greater earthly realms than any of his ancestors had possessed. In fact, he held under his sway all the peoples and kingdoms of Britain, divided among the speakers of 4 different languages: British, Pictish, Irish, and English. Though he wielded supreme power over the whole land, he was always wonderfully humble, kind, and generous to the poor and to strangers. It's a good lesson for us all. For example, the story is told that on a certain occasion, on Easter Day, when he had sat down to a dinner with Bishop Aidan, yeah, it's the same one, because basically I was reading a bit about, it's kind of at the crossroads between Roman Christianity and there was kind of like a Celtic Christianity, like an Irish church and stuff, and Aidan, I'm pretty sure it was from Iona, and he might have founded Lindisfarne. I don't know, I've been reading this book, clearly it's not been going in enough, but yeah, I'll carry on. A silver dish was placed on the table before him full of rich foods. They had just raised their hands to ask a blessing on the bread when there came in an officer of the king whose duty it was to relieve the needy, telling him that a very great multitude of poor people from every district were sitting in the precincts and asking alms of the king. He at once ordered the dainties which had been set in front of him to be carried to the poor, the dish to be broken up, and the pieces divided amongst them. The bishop, who was sitting by, was delighted with this pious act, grasped him by the right hand, and said, "May this hand never decay." His blessing and his prayer were fulfilled in this way. When Oswald was killed in battle, his hand and arm were cut off from the rest of his body, and they have remained uncorrupt until this present time. They are in fact preserved in a silver shrine in St. Peter's Church, in the royal city, which is called after Queen Bamber, and are venerated with a fitting respect by all. By the efforts of this king, the kingdoms of Deira and Bernicia, I fucking knew it. Sorry, I can't help it. History just gets me riled up. Were peacefully united and became one people. Now Oswald was the son of Edwin through his sister Atta, and it was fitting that so great a predecessor should have so worthy a kinsman to inherit both his religion and his kingdom. Now I'm not too sure I was right about that Aidan being from Monastery Iona and found in Lindisfarne, because I think I could be getting confused with my Aidans. I don't know, because Cuthbert comes into it, and so when I get to that book, I'll find the passage that I'm on about that I was reading earlier. So yeah, so that's us done with Bede. Well, directly with Bede, but I'm probably going to reference him again. It's like I say, it's pretty classic, especially on this topic. Right, what's next? So we have The Book in the Cathedral, The Last Relic of Thomas Becket by Christopher de Hamel, and it's got a little drawing of him, just sort of. Thomas Becket was like a very popular English saint. He was arguably the most popular English saint for a very long time. Maybe you could make a case for it, but saints aren't really popular in the same way that they were back then. I mean, don't get me wrong, they are, but not so much in England. Anglicans aren't so big on their saints. And this is another one I've not read. I know it's bad me. I'm bad for hoarding books, what can I say? This one was just so pretty looking. I was at a literature festival and I've seen a couple things, and they're just, I mean, look at it. It's lovely. It's really quite pretty. I'm trying to be delicate with it here. And even like it itself, it's pretty, you know. Look at these beautiful illustrated pages. Sorry, really. I'm not going to read a passage from all of them because we'll be here all bloody week. But yeah, so that's that one. Right, I got this one. So this is, so these ones, you always just pick these up. They're either ones that I already owned, or sorry guys, I'm making a confession. I never started the video. I said they were all new, but they're not. I just made that up so I'd have an excuse to show them. Is that weird of me? It is a little bit weird, but this whole thing's a little bit weird, isn't it? So, you know. Yeah, this is actually an old textbook, because I actually did study a bit of Old English when I was at uni, but I wasn't feeling very well, so I didn't go to it, so I never actually finished it. So I'm just a bit of a nerd in my own free time now. I'd like to go back to full-time education, but you know, what are you going to do? Yeah, sorry, I do speak fast. I know, it's a bad habit. I know. I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to get better at it. I am. I know, sorry, I forgot. I know we were in the library. I need to be a bit quieter. Okay, I'm sorry. Right, I know, I'm sorry. I am. Shh. Now you're being loud. Right, I'm sorry. Right, introduction to Old English. It was actually really interesting and fascinating, the ones I did go to, because like Old English has got like completely different grammar. There's like a bunch of tenses that they use that we don't use anymore, because this is before the Norman influence and stuff, so there's not really like a Latin romantic language like family influence on it yet. It's like it's just pure Germanic. So yeah, there's lots of like diagrams and whatnot, and yeah, because you know they've got all kind of Scandinavian looking stuff, but it's just Germanic, old Germanic. Well, it's not old Germanic because they're Germanic and they still use them, but as far as the Anglic side of the Germanic language family is concerned, and you know, and it's cool as well because it's got lots of little historical contexty bits. Oh, my pronunciation's shocking now. I actually was pretty up to date, and I could actually read that sort of stuff, but it's been a couple of years and I can't anymore because I've not been practicing. You know, like I could have read that, but I can't now, so I need to practice again. But there comes with little extracts, different texts and stuff, and then they provide the context to it beforehand. So there's the extract from the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle recounts events of the years 1011 and 1212, when a Viking warband besieging into Canterbury sacked the city and captured many of its inhabitants, including monks and nuns. Among their captives was Elfir. I'm pronouncing that wrong, I'm pretty sure. Archbishop of Canterbury, with whom they seemed to have expected the church to render when Elfir refused to allow ransom to be paid for him, perhaps because the church finances were straitened at the time. The Vikings brutally killed him. Sorry, that wasn't a very nice noise, was it? The present chronicler, probably a monk of St. Augustine's, Canterbury, saw the attack on Canterbury as a blow aimed at the very heart of the kingdom. The English responded to the murder by proclaiming an archbishop a martyr and a saint. His date, 19th of April, was widely observed in the 11th century. So yeah, that's that. Sorry, I was just getting a bit uncomfy. I've only got a few more to show you. Stop rolling your eyes. You're only pretending to be bored. This is interesting stuff, and you know it. Shut up. You are not just listening because you're stuck in a library trying to work. Or were you trying to work? I thought we were just catching up. You're not working. Shut up. Yes, I've got another copy of Beowulf. This is a different translation. This is by Maria Devana Headley, and I hope I'm pronouncing, could be Headley and Devana, but Headley. Yeah, Maria Devana Headley. I've not read this one yet. I've had it for a while though, because I pre-ordered it when it was coming out. I just been busy. have saved this one to myself, to be honest. So I might just have to read you from it another time. But maybe I'll read you a bit of the introduction, actually. Yeah, it's a nice introduction. Actually, I have read the introduction now I think about it. My love affair with Beowulf began with Grendel's mother. The moment I encountered her in an illustrated compendium of monsters, a slithery, greenish entity standing naked in a swamp, knife in hand. I was about 8, and on the hunt for any sort of woman warrior. Wonder Woman and She-Ra were fine, but Grendel's mother was better. She had a ferocious look and seemed to give precisely 0 Fs. I mean, I've already sweared it today, but, you know, there's kids in this library, so I'm going to try and watch what I'm saying now. She had a ferocious look that seemed precisely 0 Fs. Not that I had the language to describe her at that point in my life. In the first book I saw her in, there was no Grendel, no Beowulf, no 50 Years a Queen. She was just a woman with a weapon, all by herself in the centre of the page. I imagined she was the point of whatever story she came from. When I finally encountered the actual poem years later, I was appalled to discover that Grendel's mother was not only not the main event, but also to many people an extension of Grendel rather than a character unto herself, despite the significant ink devoted to her fighting capabilities. It aggravated me enough that I eventually wrote a contemporary adaptation of Beowulf the Mere Wife, a novel in which Grendel's mother character is a protagonist. This is really interesting. I'm going to read the rest of this. I'm going to be rereading it. So yeah, then I got the second to last book. The Road to Hastings, The Politics of Power in Anglo-Saxon England. I've read this one, but a few years ago. I actually stole it from a library. I won't say where because I don't want to get in trouble. But yeah. Well, to be fair, this is from a different library. The stamps are from a different library than the one I stole it from, so... What does that tell you? Oh, actually, no. I stole a copy from my library, but then I did eventually take it back. I bought this one online, and this one was also stolen from my library. Because it's from a place I didn't know. And yeah, it's got this a bit more academic, but it's really very interesting. Thoroughly recommend if you're into this sort of thing. It was good, and it's part of a series actually, I believe. So it's Road to Hastings, and then there's a couple of others. Okay, you've got to go soon. All right. I've only got one more to show you. Jeez, calm down. Now we have the last one, and this is the one I'm currently reading. The Private Life of the Saints, Power, Passion, and Politics in Anglo-Saxon England. But the name is a little bit misleading because it's about not just Anglo-Saxon saints, just the saints that would kind of shape sainthood in Anglo-Saxon England. Because you've got Columba and Bridget and stuff, so it's and yeah, like I say, funny enough, I was just reading today about Oswald, literally put it over and everything. The last bit that I read, I'm actually going to read you the last 2 paragraphs I read, which is such a funny coincidence. I randomly opened that bit of bead, it's actually kind of weird if I'm honest. So yeah, these are the last 2 paragraphs I read today. Oswald was killed in battle against the pagan king of Mercia, Penda, in AD 42. He was dismembered with his head and limbs stuck on spikes. His cult grew in popularity over the years after his death, possibly with the support of Irish saints like Aidan, though reports of miracles associated with his relics spread quickly among the population, indicating this appeal was widespread. The head of St. Oswald, decapitated by his captors during his martyrdom, is particularly interesting since it presented a problem to those Christians supporting his cult. To venerate the decapitated head of a king or a hero was a pagan's Celtic practice. So while his hand was blessed by a Christian bishop, his head was associated with questionable pre-Christian rituals. Nevertheless, many different heads of St. Oswald are reported as far afield as Luxembourg, Switzerland, Germany, and the Netherlands. Bede reports, there's our boy Bede. Bede reports that his head was quietly taken by his brother in Benicia, Oswey, to Lindisfarne, where the monks surreptitiously dealt with it. The most accepted resting place for Oswald's head now is in Durham, where after centuries of wandering across the northern landscape in search of a final resting place, the Lindisfarne monks carried it inside a wooden coffin alongside the bones of another important Northumbrian saint, Cuthbert. So yeah, I'll let you go then, if you're busy. I'm sorry for boring you with my books. I'm excited. I like talking to you about them. So yeah, bye. famous passage that I mentioned in that paragraph from the introduction through 883 to 914. After his death, Sigmund's glory grew and grew because of his courage when he killed the dragon, the guardian of the Horde. Under Greystone, he had dared to enter, all by himself, to face the worst, without Fidela, but it came to pass that his sword plunged right through those radiant scales and drove into the wall. The dragon died of it. His daring had given him total possession of the treasure hoard, his to dispose of however he liked. He loaded a boat. Whale's sons awaited her hold with dazzling spoils. The hot dragon melted. Sigmund's name was known everywhere. He was utterly valiant and venturesome, a fence around his fighters, and flourished therefore after